guys, welcome back to another episode of Live, Love, Life, and Travel. And this is your girl Shamika, and welcome to another Storytime Sunday back by popular demand. And if you're new here, welcome. Just to let you know, I upload my travel topic videos throughout the weekdays and my free talk videos and storytime videos on the weekends. So if you're interested, please hit that subscribe button. So today's video is going to be like a two-part video. I'm going to do my storytime video towards the end, but first I wanted to talk about being black in Bali and my experiences and what I noticed. And before I start that, I also want to add that I do realize that there are a lot of black travel YouTubers, bloggers, media influencers who feel like this like being black in insert country, like being black in Japan, being black in Malaysia, being black in the Philippines, being black in Tokyo, like we shouldn't have to keep making these type of videos because the race issue isn't the same as it is in America or Europe as it is the rest of the world, that we need to stop making such a big deal about our race while traveling. And I do agree with that partially. Like I would never bring it up or talk about it unless I actually felt like it hindered or affected my travels in any way, or if it was something that I noticed. Because if I noticed it, you would probably notice it, and plus my YouTube channel is a part of my story and part of my experiences, and so if I feel like it's something I should talk about, then I will. But I do agree that it can be a little bit oversaturating. But again, I guess there are people who are curious how people will react to the color of their skin because of the race issues that's going on back at home. So anyway, let's begin. So I mentioned in my other video that the things that I hated about Bali, which is, again, hate is a strong word. It wasn't like hate, it was like disliked or inconvenient or I could have done without sort of thing. But one of the things I said is that it was not diverse. There was like a lack of diversity. There was just no diversity whatsoever. And you may be confused by that because you're like, well, if you're in Japan, of course there are going to be more Japanese people, or if you're in Cambodia, of course there are going to be more Cambodian people. I'm not talking about the locals. I'm talking about the diversity within the foreigners, that population, that community. There was no diversity whatsoever, even amongst the white European crowd. They all looked exactly the same because they all mostly come from the same country, which is Australia, Sweden, or German. So they're all like blonde, blue eyes, and all the same sort of body type. And so even within the Caucasian European community, there was like no diversity even amongst themselves. So it even made my blackness, to me anyway, stand out even more. And it was kind of odd to me that it affected me the way it did, because like growing up, I was like the black kid at my high school, that I was the black girl that was into Nirvana, and I was a grungy black kid, and I liked rock and roll and opera, and I was into theater, but I also had this Afrocentric side to me. So I was kind of a weirdo growing up. So I was used to being sort of the token black kid because I was into a lot of things that a lot of the other black kids in my high school just weren't into. So I was always the weirdo. So it never really bothered me being the only brown-skinned person in the room. I love diversity. I would much rather there be diversity, but it never really made me feel like, oh my god, I feel so weird. It was just like, it is what it is. So it was weird that it did affect me the way it did for like the first couple of weeks of me being in Bali. Even here in Thailand, even though yes, black people are still very much the minority when it comes to the foreigner population, but if I go out every day, like every day of the week, I'll see black people at least 2 to 3 times that week. It's not like a big group of them, it's not tons of them, but you still see it. And even within the white Caucasian community here in Thailand, the foreigners, there's diversity within that group. There's girls with blonde hair, black hair, red hair, blue hair, pink hair, dreads, shaved head, like mohawk, piercing, tattoos, bohemian, conservative. Like there's a diversity within their group, so it still doesn't feel as like, it doesn't feel like you stand out so much. And in Bali, there was just like no diversity. They just all look like they came from the same like motherland, like they all came from the same place. And so it just kind of stood out to me. And I do realize that a lot of my feelings towards it was all like in my head. It was my own self-consciousness. Like it wasn't anyone really doing anything to me besides my little story time that I'm gonna talk about in a minute. Other than that, like nobody was really doing anything to me. A lot of it was just in my own head because for some reason it just really stood out to me and I felt uncomfortable. But that was kind of my own doing. Like I felt it mostly when we went out at night, like we went out partying, like when we went to the clubs, the bars and stuff like that. Like there was this place in Kuta called the Sky Lounge or the Sky Bar or something like that, and they had ladies night and ladies got in for free, but on the sign it says like ladies free, but in like bold print it was like if you impress, which means like if you don't look good, you can't come in. And there was a part of me that was like, I might not get in because like all the girls here are blonde, blue eyes, tall or skinny, or they all look the same, and so maybe they are so used to seeing that's what they think is attractive, and I might not get in. So yeah, it was a little like standing in line like, I hope I get in. And of course I did. I don't know why I really don't know why it stood out so much to me. Like I didn't see a black person until maybe after the 3rd week of me being in Bali, and I think the whole time I was in Bali I might have seen 2 or 3, but I think I saw one person like twice. So I think it was only 2 people. Both were guys. And I also felt isolated in my feelings because I didn't feel like I can really relate to anybody or tell anybody or talk to anybody about it because they wouldn't get it. But the first time I did see a black guy, I remember like grabbing my like Caucasian friend and be like, oh my god, a black person. And she just looked at me like, why did you just point that out to me? Like she didn't understand why that was a big deal. And it wasn't like a big deal. It wasn't like, oh my god, I cure cancer. It was just something that stood out to me. That's the reason why it stood out to me so much, because of the lack of diversity. Not just because there weren't any brown skinned people besides the locals. There was no diversity even within the European American white community. It was just like all the same. Like if we had 100 people in a room, it would be me, maybe a couple of other white girls with like maybe brownish hair, and then all blondes. Like it was just like that lack of diversity, to the point even you can tell even the other like European foreigners thought other European foreigners didn't think that I was also a tourist. They thought I was a local. That's how they were so not used to seeing other like black tourists walking around that they assumed that I wasn't a tourist. They thought I was Balinese. I had other foreigners come up to me and ask me if I was Balinese, because they never really see any black tourists walking around, so they just assumed that I wasn't. They assumed that I was born and raised in Bali. And even if I was like, no, I'm not Balinese, they'd be like, oh, but are you half Balinese? Do you have any Balinese family? I'm like, no, I am not Balinese. So I went from being like, are you from Africa to, are you a Balinese? Like, and there's nothing wrong with being from either places. It was just, that's how lack of diversity it was within the foreigners, where they were so not used to seeing black tourists, where they just assumed that I wasn't a tourist and that I was Balinese. So like it was just no diversity, and that's one of the reasons why it stood out to me so much. Now, did it affect me negatively? Did anybody treat me wrong? Was there any prejudice or racism or anything like that? No. Besides the story I'm about to tell, but like listen to the story and then you'll see how it folds out. So now we're at the actual story time part of this video. So when I got to Canggu, Bali, I stayed in this guest house that I really like, and I can't remember the name. I think it's Bali guest house or something like that, but I'm gonna do a whole video about all the guest houses, the hostels that I stayed in while on my travels, as like a review video. But it was a really good guest house and I really liked it. It was like basically a collection of studio sort of type of rooms. Like it was one room with ensuite bathrooms. There was a communal kitchen that everybody had access to. There was a courtyard garden in the middle, and then a place to eat. And then there were 2 co-working spaces, which I really, really liked. I think every guest house hostel needs to have a co-working space because I got so much work done. And then I had one hostel that I stayed in. It was like a 4-bedroom hostel, and it was usually only me and one other girl, so it wasn't really that bad. So when I got to this place, for the first 3 days, I felt extremely like excluded from everything and everybody. Like nobody would really talk to me, and it was very, very weird. It was very apparent that there was like a clique, like a cool kids crowd, and I just wasn't a part of it. And like you can tell it was a clique because like individuals would talk to me when they were alone. They would, you know, just be cordial, like, hi, how are you doing? But when they were together, like no one would ever involve me in conversation. Nobody would talk to me. They wouldn't even make eye contact with me. It was really, really bizarre and really noticeable, and I just kind of felt like, ugh. And it was more weird because, like, most travelers, most backpackers are very inclusive. They're very inviting. They want to have conversation. They want to know your story, why you're traveling, where you've been. You know, they're very much like, hey, we're going here. You want to come? We're having a conversation. You want to join? We're going to go get food. You want to go eat? Like, they're very inclusive and very inviting. Except like some couples and stuff, they usually will stay to themselves. But usually, especially solo travelers and stuff like that, are very like open to having friends. I mean, sometimes when I'm really busy with work, I am like no new friends, but for the most part, I'm pretty inclusive. So for the first time in like two and a half so years, it was the first time during my travels that I felt excluded, and I felt like no one wanted to talk to me, and no one wanted to be my friend. Which, yeah, maybe like that. It's not gonna kill me. I'm fine. I'm a grown up. I can take it. It was just like weird. It was just like, it was really noticeable. And then, you know, for the first few days, I very much tried to mentally talk myself out of the ideas because I'm black. Like, no, I told myself, like, no, they're just friends, and they've been friends for a while, and they're just not looking for any new friends. That's fine. Like, I can make my own friends. It's not a big deal. But then what started happening is that other new girls started coming. One here, one there, and they looked like them. They were blonde, blue eyes, they were from the same place. And it wasn't a language thing because everyone spoke English. But they were from the same place, but they looked like the part. They looked like the cool kids. And so as soon as, like, when a new girl came in, like a blonde, blue-eyed, pretty little girl came in and dropped her bag off, like before she can even unpack, she was being invited to the parties. She was being invited to have some food with them. She was, you know, being included in the conversation. So my mind started to be like, okay, well, it's not because they've been friends for a while and I'm new. That's not the reason, because this girl just got here and she's already being invited to the cool club and I'm still being ignored. To the point where, like, I'll be sitting at the table and it's me, like a new girl, and then like the cool kid clique, and they'll all be talking about a party, like, oh, you want to go to this party, we're going to the party, and they'll ask if you're going, skip over me, go to the new girl, you want to come? And it's like, I'm sitting fucking right here. Like, it was just weird. And so once that started happening, I did start having in my mind, like, maybe they're racist. Like, I don't know, like, maybe there is a rumor about Australians, there's a rumor about Germans, like, maybe they're racist, like, maybe that is what it is. And for a good, like, few days, it really did bother me. Like, it like, did it ruin my time during a few days? But it was just like, I felt kind of like, ugh, like, maybe I should leave, like, maybe I should go to a different guest house. Like, I don't know, like, you're being so, like, blatantly obvious about it. So I did start thinking that it could be because they're racist. But then something happened. We got a couple of new girls in. One girl, she was Irish, and she was like the cutest, bubbliest, dirty mouth Irish that I ever met. Like, she was like almost like a caricature of an Irish person. And I'm not trying to say that, like, I'm not trying to bash her being, like, demeaning towards Irish people. Like, she, like, everything you think of when you think of an Irish person, like, she had the really thick Irish accent, she had the red hair, she was really bubbly, and I can't do her accent. If I did, it would be, like, it would be so bad. But, like, she looked really cute, but she had a really foul mouth. She swore all the time, and she loved talking about sex, but she looked like your typical, like, Irish girl. But, you know, she didn't look like them. She didn't have the same body structure as them. She was a little, like, not big, but, you know, she was a little curvaceous. She had the red hair and a thick accent, so she didn't look like they looked. And then another girl came, and she was really tall and gangly and very plain Jane looking. And so one day I was sitting at the table with those two girls, and one of the leader of the clique, like, walked by, and I was like I couldn't help myself, because I haven't talked to anybody about how I was feeling, because I felt like I couldn't relate to anybody and nobody would relate to me. So I was keeping it all into myself, and then it kind of was like, I don't like that guy, to the two girls who were sitting at the table, the Irish girl and the other girl, I can't remember where she's from. And she was like, why don't you like him? And I was like, cause he's rude. Like, he never says hi to me, he never talks to me, like, he's a part of the little cool kid clique. and the Irish girl was like, oh my gosh, like, me too, like I say hi to him, he completely ignores me, he doesn't even like make eye contact with me, like it's so weird, like I thought I was the only one, and I was like, oh wait, you too? And then so in my mind I was like, okay, it's not a black and white thing, I think it's just you don't look like us thing, like you don't look like a cool kid, so you're not going to get invited to the party. So it was a relief that I didn't feel like it was a race thing. I mean, maybe partially it was a race thing because I didn't look like them, but I don't think it was because you are black, so that is why. It's like you don't fit the image that we want. Because like I said, like a lot of people look like they stepped out of the cover of a Calvin Klein magazine, or like an Abercrombie & Fitch like worker or something. And so like if you didn't look like that, then you weren't invited to the party, basically. To them, not everyone else. Not everyone else in Bali, just them. And then as time went on, like I kind of got over it. Like it didn't really bother me anymore. I was like, if you guys want to be immature in high school, like that is your fault. I just let it go, and I had my own friends. Like I didn't really care anymore. But it was still like, it was so bizarre. Like even I started, more people started coming, and I started making more friends. Even people like who looked like Calvin Klein models who were invited to join their clique decided not to really hang out with them because they can see how fake and they can see how they were, so they didn't want to hang out with them, so they would hang out with me and my friends. But they would still get invited to the parties, and so they wouldn't invite me to the party because I would be like their +1 or whatever. And like even when we're out like in social gatherings and stuff like that, like it was still like everybody would talk to each other and they would talk to my friends, but no one, they would like literally talk over my head, like going out of their way not to acknowledge my existence, basically. Like we played a game of Mafia, and if you don't know what Mafia is, you should play it because it's really fun, especially if you got a little liquor. But yeah, when it was my turn to like say who I think the Mafia was, even when they had to like verbally respond to me, they would not look at me. They would like look over there, look past me, or look the other way, but they're talking to me, but they're not looking at me. Like it was like you are literally putting effort now into not acknowledging me. So it was really bizarre. And again, it wasn't just me, it was me and the other two girls that didn't look like them or didn't look like models or whatever. Like, I mean, don't get me wrong, I know I'm hot, but you know I don't look like an Abercrombie & Fitch model because they're all white. But anyway, so like it was bizarre. But like I don't know, like the guy who ran the whole thing was he looked like a Ken doll, but he was so like like we were talking about like Tinder and stuff like that, and he was like, I would never go out with anybody less than 10 because I can only get 10s. Like why would I ever settle for less if I can get 10s? He was saying like guys would never like date some guys, only want fit girls, and he didn't mean fit like attractive. He meant like, oh, guys only want to date girls who are skinny, you know, with flat bellies. Like guys don't want to date nobody who got a belly and stuff like that. And I was like, there's a lot of guys who like to date curvy girls. And he was like, no, that is a myth, and I'm so sick of people like spreading that lie. Like guys don't want a curvy girl. Nobody wants to date a curvy girl. They can't just get a 10, so they just settle for that, and then they lie to themselves. It's just like, he was just disgusting. And again, like when a lot of those people were on their own, they did seem like they were people of substance, and they would talk to me. But then as soon as for some reason he came around, they were all become like mindless drones. Like it was really bizarre. I don't know. But anyway, like I only was experiencing that within my guest house. You may say like, Shamika, why didn't you leave? Because first of all, I really liked where I was staying. I liked the makeup. I liked how it was designed. I liked everything else about it. I just didn't like some of the people that were in it. And it wasn't everybody. There were other people that weren't a part of that clique and weren't my friends either. They were just there. They were fine. And then I had my own friends, so it was fine. It was just like annoying to deal with, but it was fine. But I only dealt with that within a guest house. Like I said in my other video, there is a very cliquish, cool kid vibe in Canggu, but for the most part, everybody's pretty nice. Like no one treats you like crap. No one treated me or act the way they acted in the guest house. Like I said, the whole black thing, like there was no racism, there was no discriminating, there was no bias. No one treated me less than or anything like that. Like it was fine. And another thing, like what I said in my other video is that a lot of people that I ran into didn't seem like they were actually travelers, and I think that's another reason why people personality or the atmosphere was a little bit different, because like travelers and backpackers are usually a bit more laid back, a little bit more open, a little bit more loving, and just like a lot more inclusive. And a lot of people that were in Bali weren't travelers. They weren't backpackers. They were people who were either staying in Bali or uses Bali as sort of their vacation spot. You know, they go to Bali, then they go to Ibiza, and then they go to London, New York, and all the fabulous places. Like, they're not travelers. They're just someone who just, they go to Bali, just stay for a little bit, and then they leave. And I think that's why the atmosphere is a little bit different in Bali. It definitely was not enough to make me not want to go back to Canggu. Like, I definitely am going back to Bali because I love it. It's amazing. The reason why I made my other, like, the cost of living in Bali video, because I wanted to like disperse this rumor that you have to have a lot of money to go to Bali, because I want more people to come to Bali and mix it up, diverse this fucking group of people, no matter what color you are, where you're from. Like, just like get some dreads in there, like some colored hair, something like it's so vanilla. Anyway, yeah, but no, it was like, no matter what the story sounds like, it was like a very small percentage of my travels. It really wasn't that big of a deal. It was just something I had to deal with, and it only really bothered me for like a week or so. After that, I got over it and it was fine. So go to Bali, go to Canggu. It's amazing. I definitely recommend it. It's just something you might notice, the lack of diversity. People might accuse you of being Balinese, if you're brown skin, I mean. But other than that, it was fine. It was awesome, and I loved it. And I would even go back and stay at that guest house because I really did like it. Yeah. That's it. If you guys like this video and you like the return of my story times, please like this video, thumbs it up. If you have any of your own stories where maybe you've gone to Bali and you felt like you ran into that cool clique sort of culture there, or if you experienced that anywhere or anytime, like, please share your story with us and how you dealt with it and how it made you feel, how it resolved it, how did you move on, or whatever. Just leave it in the comment section below. If you have any questions about anything that I said, I know sometimes I talk fast and you can't get everything, please leave it in the comment section below. If you want to continue to follow me on this crazy cool beautiful journey called life, please subscribe, and if you subscribe, hit that bell to get notifications when I do upload. And thank you again from Live, Love, Life, and Travel. Sweet Ophelia, when you